Hi, I'm Lex. Can everyone hear me okay? So I'm with Placeband, which is a Visa company. Placeband was bought by Visa about 18 months ago. And we're going to talk about how to really optimize and maximize payments when it comes to your games. So first I'll give a brief overview of the market opportunity, because the market opportunity actually has relevance to how you should be thinking about payments and collecting funds from your users. Then we'll talk about 5 must-dos or things you should really be thinking about when you're monetizing and collecting payments from your users. And lastly, I'll give you a quick overview of our company and how we can help you. So the market size for digital goods and gaming in the US is nice and big, $22 billion, right? That sounds wonderful. But what's even more interesting is the global opportunity, which is $73 billion. And so these numbers are staggering. 1 in every 7 people on this planet plays games. And then collectively, as a society, every day we're spending about 1 billion hours playing games. And so there's clearly a big opportunity out there if you can monetize globally and reach these global users. Something that's really amazing about the space we're in and online games is that you can be a global company really easily. So a traditional business has to worry about things like inventory, distributed warehouses, shipping. You don't have to deal with any of this, right? The internet brings these users to you as long as you're able to monetize and collect funds from them. So where are these users spending their time playing? Well, it's actually fairly well spread across the various segments. Casual games, social networking games, MMO, mobile, where the difference comes in terms of where they're paying. So by far the most profitable segment is console games. But then if you look at this online opportunity that I'm talking about between MMO, casual, and social, collectively that represents about $25 billion. So still a very large opportunity. Okay, so we know there's a great market out there. It's big and it's global. The question is, how can you really tap into this and monetize it as effectively as you can? So we're going to go over these sort of 5 tips to do. And they're going to sound really simple and obvious. But we work with a lot of games, and it always amazes me how many games are not doing this kind of stuff. And there'll be a general theme, and the theme is to make payments simple. Really familiar, it should be what a user is used to paying in their local country, really easy, and allowing that payment to be simple. So the first lesson is to keep the user engaged in the game. You know, users go to games for entertainment value, and the reason they're going to purchase something is really for the experience of playing, right? These are impulse purchases with discretionary income from users. So any kind of distractions or complicated processes increase the likelihood that the user is not going to complete that purchase, or they're going to get distracted. So a good example of what a bad flow would be is that when you want a user to pay, you take them to a new browser to complete that purchase. Why is this bad? I'm busy playing a game, suddenly I have to wait for my browser to load. Oh, while I'm on my browser, you know, I have my tab open that has my email. I suddenly see I have 5 new emails, maybe I'll go and address that. Also, I don't know what my avatar in the game is doing. Are my friends still playing? Did I miss out on anything? So if I'm in this sort of different environment that's foreign and not as engaging, the likelihood of me dropping off is much higher. If you contrast that to allowing the user to pay in the game, the propensity for them to complete that purchase is much higher. So let's look at what that looks like. So this is a game called Family Guy Online. The user is presented with different price points. When they click on Buy Now, up pops a light box, right? It's preloaded, it knows who the user is. They've already paid before, their credit card is on file. Literally all they have to do is click Confirm Payment, and the purchase happens in literally a few seconds, getting right back to playing the game and keeping them engaged in the game. So the second lesson we're going to talk about is the importance of localizing around payments. So it's global opportunity, but users in different regions are different and they expect different things. So let's say you're a user in France. We'll call him Jean-Pierre. And you now suddenly ask him to pay for something and you say, why don't you buy this for $10? Well, that's a little bit confusing because Jean-Pierre, when he looks inside of his wallet, he doesn't have dollars. And when he goes to his grocery store, he's not paying with dollars either. he's used to seeing euros. 10 euros, much more familiar. He doesn't have to think about whether or not that's a good value purchase or not. He knows what it means. So taking that a step further, not only should you use local currencies, but you should use local languages and local payment methods. So when people end up paying, they take that really seriously. There's this, understanding in society that if you hand over money, you get something in return. And that trust level needs to be really important. And so language translation is really useful here because users want to be sure that when they pay for something, they know what they're getting. And if there are instructions around the payment or when the goods are going to come, they want to know exactly what that is. In a game, a lot of the other language of the game is usually more universal. You understand how to play with characters. There are often buttons to click on or things to do in a game. But when it comes to that purchasing experience, you want clarity and no ambiguity for the user. Then when it comes to payment methods, we live in the US, which is a really credit card-centric country, and we think that's how people pay. But the truth is, across the world, people pay in many, many different ways. So the example here is in Taiwan, and the method shown is a prepaid card called My Card. So someone goes into a grocery store, they hand over cash, they get a card, they enter it online, and that's how they're able to pay. And this is, hands down, one of the most popular methods over there. Similarly, if you look at a country like Germany, right, really affluent country, people there don't really use credit cards. Credit card penetration is really, really poor. Instead, they use online bank transfers. And if you're not offering these type of payment methods, you're really losing opportunities to have your users pay easily. The Netherlands is another great example. There, the most popular payment method is Ideal. Right? We're very familiar with this stuff because obviously we're in the space. But when you're looking at a global audience, you really have to get beyond just credit cards and think about what are these local payment methods that the users are familiar with. Okay, so what's the next ramification of having a global audience? Well, there are different countries in the world, and they have different levels of affluence and ability to pay. So let's say you're a user paying from Mexico City. Well, you'll probably see that about the average transaction size will be somewhere around $12. We also have a lot of users who pay from Dubai, and you'll see that they tend to pay a lot more. Average transaction size maybe of $40. So what does this mean to you as a game developer? One is people are going to pay different amounts, and you should offer them a range of different payment choices. The second thing is that a user from a developing country or one that doesn't have the same purchasing power parity as maybe the US or Europe is going to expect more value for the items they're purchasing. That user who pays $12 in Mexico City will want the same amount of stuff that a user in Dubai is paying $40 for. Okay, so let's talk about pricing and pricing smartly. We've already touched on the need to price in local currencies. So let's say I'm selling 1,000 gold bars of virtual currency, and in the US I'm charging $10, but now I'm going to be in the UK. Well, so what should I price that at? Well, if I price it in local currency, the equivalent is really, £6.27. But to a user, that's going to look really confusing. 27 cents. Should it be 27 cents? Should it be 58 cents? Tomorrow I come back and the price has changed because the exchange rate has gone up slightly. So that's not familiar, right? When I'm at the grocery store, I'm not seeing these price points. So how can we do better? So you can round the currencies, and obviously there are different currencies with different sort of digits, and you can do that. But that's still not familiar enough. How many of us are used to paying, $7 for something? It's kind of an odd value. So a much more effective way to do this is to say £10, but then increase the amount of virtual currency to a nice round number as well. Let's say 1,200 gold bars. So you can preserve the same ratio and value, but if you look at how the one is presented, really confusing for the user, not clear what I'm getting, if it makes sense. And the last one, intuitively the user sees, oh, I'm exchanging the pounds in my wallet for a certain amount of virtual currency. Okay, I get it. So now we'll focus on merchandising and how to sort of show off these payments in a way that's going to entice users to make a purchasing decision. So this is an example of a Ubisoft game called Settlers Online, and I think it's a great example of how to do this really well. So the first thing you'll notice is they're very big buy buttons. A user straight away knows what they have to click on to make a purchase, right? If you look at the price points, they start from low to high, and it's a really wide range. That low price point is actually really useful because in the free-to-play model, getting that user to go from a free user to a purchasing user is probably the biggest hurdle you face. And for users who want to test this out, they're not sure if this is something they want to do, you want to make that hurdle very low for them to try a payment. So a low price point is a good way to get a user started. If you look at the high price point, $99, well, that's price anchoring, right? If you show people that people are spending $100, suddenly, spending $24 seems really reasonable. And then they've done another thing which is really smart, which is as you spend more money, you get bonus currency. And they've highlighted this to the user really easily. So the more you spend, the more bonus you get. And then we always know that choice is confusing in of itself. Just presenting a user with options sometimes makes users feel like it's complicated deciding what I should get. So they even make it more clear by saying, hey, if you don't want to deal with a choice, you should pick the most popular option. And if you're someone who really focuses on value and you're playing a lot, well, here's the most valuable option. Okay, the next thing that we've seen be really effective is hybrid payment models. And I'll get into what this is now. So the story of probably the last 4 years when, I've been coming to a lot of these casual connects, and it's great to see industry evolve and things change. But it's really been a move away from the traditional old model of charging subscriptions for a game. Hopefully most of you have seen a slide like this before, but it's the sort of economic theory behind why free-to-play models work and microtransaction models work. So if you have, a theoretical optimal revenue curve, previously you would pick a price point for a subscription that would maximize how many users you could get. But the problem was users who can afford to pay more, who are really big fans of the game, you weren't able to monetize because they had no ability to give you more money. And then for those users who the subscription price was too high and wouldn't pay, you didn't monetize them either because that threshold was too high for them, and so they decided not to pay. So when you move to the free-to-play model with microtransactions, you're now able to monetize according to people's ability to pay. And you've moved from a model where you're charging for access to a model where you're charging for content. So this has worked exceptionally well. We've seen this spread across lots of games. But I'd say in the last year, we've seen another trend really emerge. And that is that game developers have figured out that this model doesn't actually hit the ideal amount of revenue that they can achieve from a game and maximize how much they're monetizing their users, because something was missing. And what's missing is this hybrid model, where you do the free-to-play model with microtransactions and subscriptions. And the subscriptions are different from the subscriptions that we used to talk about, which was payment for access. Now these are subscriptions for bundles of things, bundles of virtual currency. You'll have one subscription which gives you, 1,000 gold bars. You'll have another one that gives you, 50 gold bars every month, as well as sort of privileges inside of the game. And so these subscriptions are really useful for monetizing your loyal user base, because people pick them almost as a way to say, yes, this is a game I care about, I'm going to be engaged in it, and I want to, have that VIP access, or be that special customer who, is one of the loyal users who has a subscription. And so they'll end up, using the subscription, they still do the microtransactions, and in general, you'll end up monetizing more area under the curve. So those are the lessons. Now, just a little bit about PlaySpan and what we do. So we are an end-to-end monetization platform. Our whole company, all we do, we've got about 150 people. We focus on allowing game developers and games to monetize and collect payments. We work with some great folks out there in the industry and some leading titles, including the likes of Facebook, Disney, Warner Brothers, Wargaming. And what we've built is a technology stack to enable payments and make it really simple and easy for you. So we support all of the different revenue models or monetization models you'd want. Virtual currencies, right? A user can buy something with coins, free virtual currencies, paid virtual currencies, promotional virtual currencies. If you want to do a simple transaction, just one payment, we support normal transaction payments. And then we also do subscriptions. But this is all rolled up into one system that works together seamlessly. And then you have all the other stuff around this that you would need to collect payments, such as analytics, so that you can really see how users are paying. Customer support tools, so that if your CS rep needs to get on the phone with the user, you can see if that transaction completed. You can issue a refund. And then there's obviously the fraud and risk management side of this. So this is all bundled into one platform, and it's all API driven. So this is kind of the back end of what we do. And then the way this sort of appears is on the front end as well, is we have this in-app lightbox we call Ultimate Pay. And it does a lot of the things we've described here in this presentation that you should be thinking about. And these things get really complicated when you're talking about monetizing across many different countries, many different currencies, and many different payment methods. So we support over 100 different payment methods, right? And 180 countries. So we localize for different languages and different currencies. And this is in many ways a white labeled solution. You can see here, this game has skinned our lightbox so it looks and feels like the game and keeps the user in the game. And really, this is all designed to make payments frictionless, simple, and easy for users, so you can drive as much revenue through your games as possible. So that's it for me. I'll open it up to questions. Yeah?
Why is Japan so hard to solve payments for?
The question was, why is Japan so hard to solve? And it's a good one. I'd say there are several markets that are actually hard to solve. Japan is one. China is often one. People in Japan like paying with cash. You should know that. Prepaid cards are very popular in Japan. But there's a difference, I think, in cultures here that some of the games don't cross over as easily into Japan as other places. So what's been amazing for me to see is, people here in the US making games and then suddenly realizing they have a huge fan base in Taiwan. And these games really just taking off or proliferating there. And I suppose my personal opinion here is that the gameplay, the type of characters, Japan has a lot of more kind of cutesy games. So I think sometimes these games don't translate well over there. And there's more of a sort of local feel to the Japanese games.
How does your solution work with the various mobile platforms if you're already using the App Store's purchase mechanism that already has its own localization and so on? Can you support that?
Yeah, so the question was, how does our platform work with the various mobile platforms? So our primary focus is on the online gaming space, and where we have helped people in the mobile space is around virtual currency management. So you can use a currency across multiple different devices or different games, and it all works together seamlessly because it's API-driven. And then we do have the same checkout flows that you've seen in HTML5, so they work natively nicely on the mobile experience. But as many of you know, the mobile space is also in many aspects closed. Apple has its own policies around how people can pay. So that hasn't been the focus of our company, but we do some stuff in that area. Any other questions? Right at the back.
How do you charge? What's the nature of your pricing model?
The question was, how do we charge? So we always charge on a transaction basis. So, we feel like that's really well aligned with our customers. Essentially, if your game isn't monetizing and you're not making money, we don't make money either. And yeah, we charge on transactions. Yeah. At the back?
What are some of the payment methods in Brazil, and what are some of the challenges with offering payment methods?
Yeah, Brazil is a great country. People like playing games there. Brazil does have a lot of challenges. People in Brazil like playing at places called boletos. They go into the bank, they hand over a coupon. They hand over a coupon, they pay some money, and then they're able to come back and pay with this online. Credit card penetration is there, but they're local credit cards, and so that's something that's a little bit different. And then Brazil also has some challenges with regards to high tax rates. So, we see users paying well in Brazil, but it is one of these more challenging markets, and for some of the reasons I've just brought up. Yeah. Any more? Missing? Oh, right. Okay, sorry about that.
How strong is
Got to wave your hand next time.
I won't. How strong is the trend towards hybrid models in your client base versus the industry as a whole, do you believe?
So to me, the question was, how strong is the trend towards hybrid models? And I would say this is still an emerging trend. In our client base, we're seeing more and more companies start doing this, but I would say it's not by any means the thing everyone is doing. We're seeing more and more experimentation with it, and some of our better clients are definitely getting onto this model. So I'd say it's new. Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks, everyone.